The Morning Market Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN, 8:30 a.m. Monday morning, 60 minutes to go until that opening bell. Last full week of trading, last full week before the election day, 8 days from right now. We got markets in negative territory to kick things off, folks. We're looking at a Dow, negative 301 points, 27,888 on the dot. S&P futures negative by 34 points, 34.17. Got the NASDAQ off an even 100 right now at 11,563. We have oil down almost $1 as well. We got the 10-year yield right now above 0.8%, 0.809. Over in Europe right now, big negative numbers. You get the DAX. How about the DAX? Down 2.7% right now. FTSE down about 0.5%. CAC roll down 1.1%. DAX 2.7%. That is quite a number, folks. We are only down about 0.9% in the S&Ps. I got a 15-minute chart up here. You see the action. Let me delete that line real quick. Jumping through the indices, there's your S&P trading at 34.19. We closed out last week above 34.50. Put this in some context of where we've been. There's your daily. We'll zoom it in on the 2020 calendar year. We start the year off just above 3,200. We make a high at 35.87 in September 3rd. We make another high right around the beginning of October. That high at about 35.41. We've now given up about 120 S&P points off that high. We are now about 160 points off the all-time highs in the S&P, but we're still above where we were. We'll call it pre-COVID in the S&Ps. We were sitting at about the high on February 18th, February 19th, before the sell-off really began. You're looking at a high of about 33.9750. We're currently sitting at about 34.18 in the S&Ps. Jumping around to commodities, we mentioned crude, putting it on 15-minute. Now, before we do, here's your daily on crude. You go all the way back, pretty remarkable. We got to go back, beginning of March. Remember that, folks? Over the weekend, you had the Saudis. They reprice oil. That really starts the escalation to negative prices in a pretty dramatic fashion. You have the oil contract go negative, actually, on this contract. The continuing, we hit $6.50. Quite a week, though, we've had. You see, $41 was kind of where we've been navigating around, oscillating around. Maybe that was a little bit of a high point with some resistance. Nonetheless, in the last week, look at that acceleration, right? Just since where we were on Friday, we were almost $41. On Tuesday, we were at almost $42. Right now, we're under 39 at 38.96. We got to check in on Bitcoin. Talk about a run. 13,165. We made a high of 13,285 last week. Some context on Bitcoin. There's your daily from a low of 42.10 earlier in the year. Pre-COVID, you were trading at about 10,500. And you really want some context. The recent high, as in the last high that it had, June of 2019, 13,915. As that looks to be the next price point, we may hit some resistance. Beyond that, we're just talking about all-time highs of 20,650 back in December of 2017 when futures first began trading on cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now up $200 at 13,170. Gold contract, talk about a cup and handle formation. This is your monthly going all the way back to the year 2000. We just traded above the all-time highs we had, 1923 on this chart. We're currently trading at about 1907, putting gold on a daily. Pretty interesting. It's had this bounce off the 382 of the full run it had from the bottom of COVID up to the top that we reached, 2,089. Remarkable that we're talking about almost 3 months ago. We made that all-time high in gold. A little bit of a consolidation between about 1850 and 1940. Gold sitting right in the middle of that range at 1907. You got silver down 26 cents at 24.41. And we got to jump to notes and bonds. A little bit of a reversal of what we've been seeing in terms of getting a little bit of higher price and lower yield. As I mentioned, we're still sitting on a 10-year yield right now of exactly 0.809. So about 0.81%. on the 10-year yield, but you see that pop. Whoops, I'll zoom it in. Now, here's the year. Here are the highs we had recently. We were sitting 139.22, 139.21, 139.22. And then, I mean, look at this sell-off. 6 straight days. We go from 139.12 down to almost 138. Right now, you're trading at 138.18, putting it on a 15-minute. And there you see Friday's action. We opened the futures overnight last night, and we're coming right up to those highs in the 10-year that we made at about 3 in the morning, currently trading at 138.18 in that 10-year. And we got to jump over to the VIX this morning. Volatility Index, 8 days until a presidential election. Supposedly, we're waiting on maybe some stimulus news. Go figure, right? I'll just get that recording out. We're going to have to get some sound bits going for waiting for stimulus. Not sure that's going to happen, folks, with 8 days until a presidential election. You have a Supreme Court nomination going on today, I believe. Lots going to be crammed in those next 8 days. We have a VIX jumping from 27.50 up to almost 30. Some context on the VIX. I mean, we're at low levels compared to some of these spikes. We start to see a little bit of a sell-off. Maybe investors are just going to not want to participate in market action over the next 8 to 15 days in terms of Election Day Tuesday. As we all know, if this becomes a very close election, if it comes down to some of the swing states in question, if it comes down to some of the swing states in question that begin counting mail-in ballots the day of election, if it comes down to those states, we are more than likely not going to get a decided victory on Tuesday night. Hopefully by the end of the night, hopefully by the next day if it stretches, but it could be a few days until we have the outcome of some of those states, as some states can only begin counting mail-in ballots on Election Day. And with the amount of ballots we're going to get, that's a hard task. I'm sure they're ramping up for it, but a very hard task to count all of those ballots the day of, because it's not just as easy as people voting in precincts on the day of. What has to happen is just the fact of opening the envelopes and then the fact of flattening that piece of paper, just that action alone, which is manual. Imagine doing that from millions of votes, which is possible in some of these states. You're going to have mail-in ballots. You got to open the envelope. You got to slide it into the machine. Then it's counted. You can't start doing that until actually Election Day. So we're seeing a little fear waking up on Monday. Final week before the election, coming into things. All right, what else we're going to talk about? We're going to talk a little bit about coronavirus, because there's a lot of news out there. We're setting records in terms of the number of cases. On the vaccine front, continues to be good news. If you listen to the scientists out there, you listen to Fauci out there, they've been saying for a while, maybe we get it in a period of 3 to 4 to 5 months after the trials begin. You got to get all the people online. But hopefully, was never a certainty, but seems to be good news continuing, as in it's only a matter of time. You have AstraZeneca saying its coronavirus vaccine triggers immune response among adults. Good news there. Drug maker and research centers scrambling to deliver that safe and effective vaccine. And when you get into it, developing the potential COVID-19 vaccine in collaboration with the University of Oxford, it's encouraging to see immunogenicity responses were similar between older and younger adults, and the reactogenicity, maybe, I'll have to work on some of that biotech terminology, was lower in adults where COVID-19 disease severity is higher. The results further build the body of evidence for the safety and immunogenicity of AZD1222, referring to the technical name, and AstraZeneca shares, AZN. We'll put it on a 15-minute. They're trading up a bit with the market in negative territory, up about 50 cents. Stay tuned, folks. We got a big week of earnings coming up this week. I'm going to go over it when we get back from the break. We'll be right back.
Many of our new listeners have heard about The Tiger's Den. The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of the TFNN shows, plus see all of the charts as they happen live and have access to archives of all of those charts. You can test drive The Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days and greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets and how to make your money work for you. Details on The Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com.
TFNN has launched our brand new website. You can still visit us at the same TFNN.com URL, but when you do, you'll see a new and improved homepage with a much simpler navigation, whether you're watching Tiger TV live in high definition or just accessing your newsletter subscriptions. We even have new pricing in 6 months and yearly options. Check out the new TFNN.com now and experience all the upgrades. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Hi folks, this is Tom O'Brien. The printing presses are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The U.S. deficit has risen 200% in 1 year with no end in sight. The markets are looking for an additional stimulus bill to get us through this once-in-a-generation pandemic. There is no free lunch, folks. The more stimulus dollars put into the marketplace, the less your dollar is worth each and every day. This is the time to protect yourself with a portion of your portfolio in the metal market. The Gold Report comes out each Monday morning. I bisect and dissect the dollar, silver, gold, the XAU, and the HUI. The Gold Report is a long-term hedge against the dilution of your buying power. The U.S. has put more than $6 trillion into the marketplace in the last 6 months, with more expected in the next few months. The market did and does need the stimulus, but it will have long-term implications on our buying power. The Gold Report comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to TFNN.com and order the Gold Report now. Protect your buying power. Order the Gold Report now.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Welcome back, folks. We got the S&Ps negative a full percent, negative 34 points right now, 34.17. Not the way you'd want to come into Monday morning. A little bit of a dicey week, right? 5 days of trading left to go until presidential voting week. I shouldn't call it that, I guess, until election day. That's what you call it. A week from tomorrow. Remarkable, that's the action. Of course, one of the things talked about during the election, COVID-19. You have the vice president's chief of staff testing positive. A lot of his aides testing positive now as they're dealing with a little bit of an outbreak around the vice president. The vice president, he's going to just keep doing his business as usual, not going to quarantine. Not really surprising coming from this administration. Take that for what it is. 83,000 cases 2 days in a row, folks. One of the things that I struggle with most with this administration, and my biases are usually out there, is how hard it is to find the truth sometimes. There's only one president in the country, and he speaks and people listen, as they should. And you don't hear the fact that cases are spiking in a dramatic fashion. Hospitalization is spiking as well. So this is not a case of testing. All right, you're dealing with 83,000 cases in back-to-back days. 83,757 on Friday, and then we had 83,718 according to Johns Hopkins. You jump over to the New York Times, pretty similar numbers. You see the spike there. This is the third wave, and we're already on a 7-day average above the second wave. Hopefully, deaths continue to stay low as there's now better care for people in that. You have remdesivir, right? The first one approved last week. Nonetheless, stark numbers. And when you really get into it, El Paso right now. Now, there's a couple. Jump to first, you got Wisconsin. Look at this map, folks. Wisconsin, right across the board. You're talking about per 100,000 residents, 130, 175, 97. Pick a county, and you are at astronomical numbers. 241 I just saw in there. Menominee County, Wisconsin, average daily case 11, but you're talking about small counties blowing up as compared to you get down to Florida, and we're still dealing with numbers. Talking about 10, right? 14, 15. Where's Hillsborough? Hillsborough, there's Polk, 15. There's Hillsborough, 14 per 100,000. As I just mentioned, Wisconsin, you're dealing with 100-plus numbers, let alone the Midwest. Many stark numbers in there that they're dealing with. El Paso, Texas. All right, Texas got some hot spots in there as well. El Paso, they are asking residents to stay home for 2 weeks as COVID-19 hospitalizations surge. All right, so they've basically reached capacity, which is one of the scariest things that can happen in this environment in terms of allowing cases to spiral out of control, and then you don't have the hospitalization or maybe the respirators to deal with it. You have Governor Abbott establishing alternative care sites in El Paso to expand the COVID-19 hospital capacity. They got a facility located at the convention center. These are convention centers again, folks. These are the things that were starting originally, right? We saw this happening in New York. It's now happening in El Paso. Right now, it's going to be able to handle 50 beds. It can expand up to 100. And that is to expand COVID-19 hospital capacity in El Paso. So stark numbers, no matter what happens with shutdowns, the economy is not going to experience the type of growth we want to see with these numbers raging, folks. Talking about 83,000 people testing positive per a day on back-to-back days, Friday and Saturday. Now, as I mentioned, AstraZeneca, good news on the vaccine front, but we got a little time to wait for those in a big way. What else we do have happening is that we get GDP on Thursday. All right, so I talked about earnings. We're going to go through those in a moment. We get GDP. So we get a first look at third quarter GDP due Thursday, expected to show a rise in economic activity of 31.8% annualized. Okay, so that's going to hopefully make up for more than make up, as they say in the article I got up here. I'll pull it over from MarketWatch, talking about 31.8% they'll be looking for third quarter GDP. They'll be looking at to make up for the 31.4% plunge in the worst part of the pandemic. All right. However, critics warn GDP figures won't reflect the fact that millions remain unemployed. So what happened is in this GDP, you had the first quarter of that, you were still getting checks in that GDP. So nonetheless, that's going to come out and hit things on Thursday. Talk about a full week of action. All right, what else we got going on in terms of earnings and what we have on the table? I'm going to jump through some of the equities. It is a big week. We have 180 plus. I think it's 186 to be exact, S&P companies reporting this week. That's more than a third of the companies in S&P coming out with earnings. We got GDP coming out on Thursday. We're going to get weekly jobless claims, of course, on Thursday. And we got a presidential debate 8 days from right now, folks. Is there any way to have more volatility in this market in terms of what is up in the air? And we got a Supreme Court nomination going on today. Doesn't really add to things, but it does add to what the government is doing. And we might get some stimulus news. Not really likely that anything progresses to a dramatic fashion, but nonetheless, we get the S&Ps down 35, NASDAQ down 103, and the Dow off 310. So let's jump through some of the companies that we have on earnings. Thursday is a big day. I'm jumping through the companies I got up here, and we're talking about Facebook. All right, we're talking about Amazon. We're talking about Google, all on Thursday alone. Amazon shares opening a little bit lower this morning. You put some context on where Amazon has been. Hold up relatively well, 3,200. We did have a couple peaks higher, 3,552. Quite the little sell-off we just had since October 13th over the last 2 weeks. You were at almost 3,500. You've shaved about $270 off the price of where you were to 3,204. That's Amazon shares. We also get, as I mentioned, Facebook shares holding up relatively well also. 284.79, the all-time high on Facebook. You're looking at 304.67. And we get Google on Thursday as well. All of those companies coming out after the bell. And I'm just scanning on Thursday. There we go. Okay, we also get Apple. Yeah, there we go. I knew there was one more. So Google, remarkable what Google has done in terms of the acceleration. Of course, you have the antitrust suit coming down the line. And I mean, check it out. Google's going to challenge the all-time highs here. We basically only have 2 days almost that we've traded above these levels. You're all the way back up to the high of 1665 that we had on September 1st. We're trading right now at a little bit low with the market, 1627 to 1623. But Google behaving very well on that antitrust suit. And then we get Apple Thursday as well. So to recap, we get Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google on Thursday. Is there a bigger day of earnings than those 4 companies? And there's Apple, been struggling a bit. They're coming out with a new iPhone 12, 5G, right? But Apple, maybe just getting a little bit ahead of itself. You tie things back to their earnings date, which is July 30th. They come out with great earnings. They come out with the fact that they're going to split their shares. You trade from $94, we'll call it, to $138. We've now paired some of those gains to $115.04 when you're talking about Apple. Also, for companies with earnings next week, we got so many of them, folks. I'm going to jump through some of the names that are jumping out at me. Tomorrow morning, before the bell, we get Caterpillar, Eli Lilly, Pfizer, Merck, Sherwin Williams, right? Talk about a company with legs. Sherwin Williams, you want to see some green paint. SHW is their symbol. They're coming out tomorrow morning before the bell from 325 to 725. We've just been consolidating for basically the month of September and October. 683 the price of Sherwin Williams. As I mentioned, we got Caterpillar coming out tomorrow after the bell. Caterpillar 168.59. We're going to open a little bit lower this morning, but still from $87 at the low. And some of those health stocks. Pfizer coming out tomorrow as well, 38.18 right now. Eli Lilly trading at 142.38. You got Merck coming out as well, 79.83. And Raytheon and Harley Davidson. RTX is Raytheon. And these are all before the bell tomorrow. Talk about a tough one there for Raytheon, 62.57. And Hog, been a tough one as well, but clawing back above 30 right now. Looking to open at about 29.85. Stay tuned, folks. We'll go over some of the other equities with earnings this week. 186 S&P companies. We'll be right back.
Back in the day, I joined Hotel California in 2006, and like many of you, was drawn in by, as well as...
Whatever you think about, you bring about. Whatever you focus on grows.
You see, I believe that everything in life happens for us, not to us. And Tom ignited the fire within me to want to learn how to master the markets. So how did I go from knowing nothing about technical analysis to becoming the #1 market timer for the S&P 500 in 2018 and the #2 market timer in 2019? Simply put, I hired coaches with a proven track record, which led me to a whole new set of tools that I created to interpret the message of buyers and sellers. I would love the opportunity to teach you this award-winning set of tools and to help you improve your market timing. You can test drive my newsletter service, Mastering Probabilities, for the next 30 days with no risk to you. Plus, you'll gain access to archive workshops that'll take you step-by-step through my system. Sign up today by going to the homepage of TFNN.com and selecting Mastering Probability in the newsletter tab.
If you haven't checked out the newsletters page of TFNN.com, what are you waiting for? All of the TFNN newsletters are informative, up-to-date, affordable, and a must-have for every trader looking to gain a competitive informational edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets to offer you the very latest in market news. Plus, new subscribers get to test drive our newsletters risk-free for 30 days. From all aspects of the markets, including stocks, bonds, metals, commodities, and tech, there's a newsletter to fit your needs exclusively from TFNN. Stay informed each day you trade and get that competitive edge that will help you stay ahead of the game. Visit our newsletters page by going to TFNN.com and click the newsletters button near the top of the page. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Introducing Primal Edge.
Today, it's even more important to take a supplement that complements your health. Primal Edge is specifically formulated to boost your immune system and help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Our early ancestors found all their nutritional requirements in the wild environment. But today, our food sources don't contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that we need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated humic and fulvic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They've been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, without them, life cannot exist.
That's right, Ellen. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge. Just $89 exclusively at TFNN.com.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Welcome back, folks. We got the market slipping a bit, continuing to slide, now down about 36 points. As I mentioned, that DAX down 2.7%. Following this program, folks, we got Larry Pesavento coming up with Trade What You See. Love Larry's program. Starts every show off, starts a lot of shows off with that DAX. It's an important index over in Europe. It leads us into the market trading day, and I look forward to starting his program to see what he's going to say about the DAX down almost 3% to kick things off. All right, I got a chart here of Dunkin' Brands. the Northeast Dunkin' Donuts. Get your Dunkies out there and your Munchkins. $89. This looks like a fantastic chart, right? From 38 to 90. Well, guess what, folks? We got a bid ask of about 105 this morning. There's your acceleration overnight. A good day to be a Dunkin' shareholder, and that has to do with Dunkin' Brands discussing a potential sale to Inspire Brands. Dunkin' and Baskin-Robbins chains owner Dunkin' Brands held a preliminary discussion to be acquired by Inspire Brands, a private equity-backed restaurant company, they said in a statement on Sunday. Pretty interesting action there. You want to talk about interesting action? Article I found fascinating out here talking about Bloomberg. How about if you are in the unsecured bond business right now, you're experiencing a max pain scenario, folks, as unsecured, they get into it, credit default swaps auctions, steeper than usual losses. This is the median auction value. Basically what it talks about is that you have creditors getting 3.5 cents on the dollar for when a company going BK. They talk about in here that what's going on here is that you've had a lot of companies that have really been able to take out a lot of loans. And when you're taking out loans, usually those might be secured. And what ends up happening, the people left unsecured because of the environment we're in, the unforeseen situation we've had, you got unsecured creditors getting basically crumbs at the end of some of these companies going BK, like JCPenney for interest, for example. All right, folks, should be an interesting one in the markets. We got Larry Pesavento coming up next. I'll be back at 10 o'clock with Tom. Live programming all day at TFNN Monday before Election Day.